All right. Hello, everybody. First off, I just want to say I really appreciate you all being here. I know schedules are busy. It's March Madness. I know I would love to be glued in front of my TV. So the fact that you guys chose to spend time in this conversation tonight, recording, regardless, it says a lot about you. My name is Christy. I am the Director of Customer Success here at The Zone. I played college ice hockey at Mercyhurst, coached both at the Division 1 and Division 3 levels. My spouse is a head college soccer coach. All that to say, my entire career has been in athletics. So I've been in this environment for an incredibly long time. And while I've experienced a lot of this from the women's side, I also know that the men's side of sport comes with its own challenges. And a lot of those don't necessarily get talked about enough. And that's why we're here. And one thing I've learned being around teams, regardless if it's men, women, co-ed, for this long, just because guys don't always talk about it doesn't mean it's not there. And again, that's exactly why we're really excited to be here and especially partnered with the Keep Going podcast and bringing together a group of guys who can speak to you all about this from real experiences. And just very quickly, for those of you who may be new here, The Zone is a platform focused on supporting student athlete mental health and performance. But again, today it's not about The Zone, and it's certainly not about me. Today is just simply about having a real conversation, one that doesn't necessarily always happen in locker rooms, and maybe it should be. Maybe it doesn't always happen on teams or honestly even day to day, and that's why we're here to kind of change the stigma. This conversation is really just centered around men's mental health in athletics, and as you know, because that's why you hear, that's why you signed up for this. Um, there's pressure, there's expectation, there's identity tied to performance, and a lot of times men in athletics are navigating that without really saying anything. So I'm really excited about this group because we have a ton of different perspectives. We have two current student athletes who are living this in real time. We have two guys who have gone through it and now are on the other side in different stages of life and sport. So again, you're going to be able to hear this from multiple different angles, not just one experience. But enough about me. I have given more than enough feminine energy into this room already. Let's introduce the boys. Pat, I'm going to start with you, the founder of the Keep Going podcast. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll obviously simply go down the line. Tell us who you are, what you do, why you're here, and yeah, maybe like a quick one-liner of men's mental health.
I love that. Well, Christy, thanks for having us. Anytime I can jump on a panel with yourself and a group like this, it's an absolute blessing to be here. I'm Pat O'Malley. I work full time with NCSA college recruiting, but I do help out with the Keep Going podcast. We founded that about 3 years ago. And the preface of that is getting mental health back in the eye of athletes and coaches across the country and internationally. I was very blown away by our international following during this year's wrap up, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I'm a baseball guy by trade. JUCO dropout, played Division 3, coach JUCO, and now I do some lessons over at Athletes HQ Rockford, where I'm at right now. So, boys, I'm excited to be here. I'll kick it over to Steph.
Yeah, nice to meet you. Whoever's going to be listening to this, but I'm Stefan. I've gotten to know Pat a little bit through kind of like friend of a friend, through Dan McCarty.
Shout the
And,
boy
and
out,
yes,
Steph.
yes, he's
Yeah.
awesome. But no, I'm a goalie. I play hockey. I go to University of New England up in Maine. I'm a sophomore applied exercise science student on the physical therapy track. And yeah, no, I'm grateful to be here. Let's have some fun.
Steph, I have to ask
Yeah,
before we
yeah.
move on to you, Kyler, who's your favorite NHL team?
I'm from Chicago originally. My new home base is Florida, but I'd have to say still the Blackhawks. Yeah,
All right, I respect
You.
that.
yeah,
You.
I'll like the Hawks. Go Hawks. All right,
yeah.
Tyler, let's kick it over to you, my man.
All right, I'm Kyler Hickman. I play baseball as well. I'm currently at Ripon College. I've been here majority of my career, and Pat was actually my NCSA guy. So we go back to when I was like a sophomore in high school. So I've known the guy for a while. And I'm happy to be here and happy to be able to share my story and hopefully help other people out.
Love you, brother. Thanks for being here.
And Zach, last but not least, my friend.
Yeah, so my name's Zach Adamak. So that picture, I had hair. That was back whenever I was in college. Now I'm no longer in college anymore. Graduated back in 2020. I went to Concordia University, Chicago, Division III school out in Illinois. I played soccer, and sort of like Steph, I'm a goalie, just for a different sport. And excited to be here, just with the experience that Pat and I have with college and hearing from Kyler and Steph now. It'll be a good one today.
I love it. And for those, again, who are on and who are listening, as you know, this webinar is hosted by The Zone, but we are co-working this with the Keep Going podcast. And I was working with Pat. So blame him for bringing goalies onto this podcast. I
On
mean,
me.
I guess we
Full
are not
hand up
podcast,
accountability.
really
Yeah.
webinar.
Full hand up accountability. If you're going to bring goalies on the podcast, they better be good looking. And we have some good looking guys on here tonight. So I'm excited. Let's do it.
All right. Well, first off, thank you guys again so much for being here, introducing yourselves. And again, hopefully everybody who's listening understands what a unique opportunity that they all have to hear again for just so many different perspectives in sports, where they're at in life. I'm just going to start us off strong, guys. It's something simple, yet something real. And I think we can get a little bit deep. And again, that's why we're here. Again, open-ended, so feel free to just really chime in here. When was the first time you realized you were struggling but didn't say anything? And I might follow up with that and say, was it more internal, or did you feel like you couldn't say anything because of the environment? Who wants to kick us off?
I can go first, actually.
All right.
Because if I'm being honest, this year for me has been the most challenging year of hockey I've ever had. And I mean, I've been playing since I was like 3 years old. So it's definitely been many years that I've been at it. But just to give you a little summary. So at the beginning of preseason this year, I dislocated my shoulder. And so that was a couple-month recovery process. But in the meantime, I had definitely a big identity battle, like identity crisis. And then even like getting back, being 100%, there became a challenge, like getting opportunity to play, like getting back into that rhythm. And so when you mentioned like in terms of realizing that there's definitely something like underneath it all, I feel like especially at first too, about the identity piece, because when you're a part of something, like as big of a, like as a sport, because it's no matter kind of like what we think about it, all of us have been playing probably since before we even remember the game, remember playing. And so when that's kind of like unexpectedly taken from you in a way, could be like injury, mental health, anything like that, illness. It's kind of like a shocker, and it kind of made me realize maybe how much I kind of relied on that for part of my like value and self-worth. And so that was kind of something that I didn't realize maybe at first, but I kind of like learned through it all. And so like, especially at first too, I feel like I'm known to be very like even keel pretty much the whole time. And you need to, as a goalie, being able to control your emotions. But this year, especially, I've been able to reach out, especially I have like a close group of friends at school, my family, people that really kind of like, are genuine, and kind of lean on them too. But just in terms of what I've learned, yeah, it kind of reminds me too, like interesting how everything works. Because even though how challenging everything was on the ice this year, I've learned the most this year that I've had out of any year playing hockey. It's still even hard to say, because what I wouldn't want anyone to go through what I did this year. But no, that was definitely this year for me, that just made me think right away, because I've been living in it this year, this whole mental health kind of like challenge, but also kind of what I've gained and learned and what I feel like has made me stronger.
Wow.
Yeah.
Steph, thank you so much for sharing. And before I say anything, I obviously want to keep the floor open to anybody else who wants to share right now.
Yeah, just from kind of one goalie experience to another that might not be injury related, but like so early on in college, that's probably whenever I struggled the most. Was very early. Most of us college athletes were one of, if not the best player on our high school team. We probably started, played every minute, contributed quite a lot. But once going to college as a freshman, I rode the bench. And there was a senior playing over me. And as a goalkeeper, if you're not the starter, you're probably not really playing at all. And that was tough. So I kind of debated on if I chose the right school, if I was good enough to even play in college. And then kind of going to like what held me back was kind of feeling alone in that because that feeling was new. I hardly knew anyone at the university. I was a 5 hour drive away from home and I didn't want to bug my parents. But eventually, I did get to know my teammates. I got to know the people that lived in my dorm room, and just other people on campus. And suddenly, you don't feel like as small and not as maybe not as good athletically anymore because, especially in my dorm, it was filled with other freshmen that were also going through the same situations in their sports of football, baseball, volleyball, whatever it may be. So a big thing whenever like feeling down for me was always trying to get a sense of community because at first it was tough. I felt very alone. I didn't think anyone else was going through it. But now being on the other end of it, the community piece is what really kind of brings you back to your normal self.
Yeah. Amazing. And again, oh, Kyler, you came off mute. Do you have an answer for this as well?
Yeah, I was actually gonna piggyback off Zach's. Um, my experience is kind of similar to that because I actually left California and went all the way to Wisconsin. So it wasn't like I could drive home. So that sense of like being alone was miserable. And I mean, I had my brother here, yes, but he was a junior at the time. He had his friends, and like being homesick, especially as a man, is like hard like to talk about. Like, how am I supposed to go to my roommate I met 2 weeks ago and be like, "Hey, I'm homesick." Like that's just a hard conversation. And I actually I actually tried dropping out my freshman year. I called my parents and I was like, "Listen, I'm done. Like, give me the next flight. I'm leaving tomorrow. Like, get me out of here." My parents were like, "There's no way. Like, you want to play baseball." And at the time, I mean, I was the last catcher on the depth chart because that's what I came in as. And I mean, I could hardly walk. So it was a brutal first experience for me, but Zach's definitely right. Like once you find that community, once you find those people that like you can hang out with and you don't even have to talk to them, just being in that sense of community helps out a ton, especially for me. So I started relying on my brother and his connections, and eventually like I got through it. I mean, I still get homesick to this day, but it's a whole lot easier when you have people to rely on.
Yeah. And now do you feel like you have outlets or people that you can talk to rather than you're a freshman, you're like, ooh, I don't know how am I supposed to bring this up as a man? Like, hey, I'm homesick, and I can imagine that. And again, this is just from a perspective of a female, right? And why we're here is to talk about you guys. Societal norms that must have been really difficult to be like, how do I battle this out in my head? Like, I'm homesick and I know I'm feeling this way, but how in the world do I talk about this? Do you think you could kind of like walk us through that, Kyler, and then how you've really bridged that gap to today of like, hey, no, like I do have outlets. Like I had this experience as a freshman and I've worked through X, Y, and Z where I'm like, hey, I can call up my buddy or I can just go sit in my pal's place without saying a word and they just know what's going on or, whatever the examples are.
Yeah, definitely. I think for me, the hardest thing was like getting through that like awkward phase of just coming out and saying it,
Hmm.
right? Because nobody wants to be the first one. And like for my school, at least, guys are like 3 hours away is probably the average. So like they get called home to like go do chores. And it's like, okay, oh, I can't do that. So what I did is like I started reaching out to people and being like upperclassmen and being like, can I just come over? Like, for holidays and whatnot. So I started relying on them for that. And then funny enough, I used it as like a joke, being like homesick because nobody really understands it, especially when they're all from so close. And it's like me and my roommate used to get into it because I'm like, I can't go home. Like, you can come home and come back later at night. And so just having like those guys where it's like I can go home with them or I can find things that are similar to home. So like I'm a big, huge fisher. Like I love going fishing. And so that's something I did at home. And then I started to find lakes around here that were close enough for me to go to, like trying to find things that like will bridge that gap, things that I've done at home that I can do here. So like the similarities. if that answers your question.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. And, really what I was getting at, and I'm glad that you used all the examples that you did, is, and again, boys, please correct me if I'm wrong, but, as a woman, I didn't necessarily have, I didn't necessarily experience homesickness. I lived away at home since I was 13 years old. But I did live with people who they were very just flat out day two, whoa, I'm struggling. And it's very easy for women, easier, I should say, to have that conversation, female to female. And we don't even know each other. It's like preseason August, we're all dying because we were bag skating for 3 days straight. And she just breaks down, right? So, again, I appreciate your vulnerability and sharing, and then the kind of like how you have worked your way up to today. But Pat, before I go to the next question, I kind of want to lean on you. You and I have had so many conversations. We together, I'm going to throw you under the bus here a little bit. We've together have gone through a mental health journey side by side, two totally different journeys that we're on, but we're still doing it together. So again, I kind of want to throw the question at you before I kind of open up the group to the second question is, when was the first time you realized you were struggling but didn't say anything?
Yeah, I think unlike a lot of these guys, it was actually after I was done playing.
Mm.
Um, which is unique, right? Because a lot of this stuff is going on. Guys, hand up accountability. I talk about it all the time in the pod. Like I thought mental health was complete bullshit. I thought it was completely fake. I didn't ever go through it. When people said it was going on, I said, just grow up, figure it out. Like I was the epitome of the guy that did not think it was authentic. I thought they were just using it as an excuse. If I'm running sprints, why aren't you running sprints? Right? If I'm doing this out there every day, why aren't you doing it with me? But then when I got to like 24 or 25, I got in my first professional job that required some learning and some stress and some things. And it just hit me. Like one day I was sitting at my desk and I just had a full blown panic attack. And I was like, oh, okay, this is exactly what this feeling is physically and mentally. And not to get too deep with y'all, and I've talked about it with a bunch of the guys on here and CNC yourself as well. I looked in the mirror one day, I didn't want to be here anymore. And at 25 years old, I was a guy from the outside. I was an external success. On the inside, I was an absolute failure. I just didn't want to be here anymore, quite frankly. And leaning on some of the things that we're touching on today saved my entire life. Meeting some of you guys and getting back in net with my faith, and having my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, walking me through things, and friends like you, Christy. It was so big. So unlike you guys that went on during your college playing career, mine was long after. And it doesn't discriminate, y'all. I remember calling my buddies that went through it in college and saying, I'm so sorry, but I promise the rest of my life I'm going to make impact here. And I promise I'll double down, So that's where I'm at.
And that's exactly why, one, the Zone wanted to partner with you in the Keep Going podcast, because of you, the amazing people that you bring on here, and the vulnerability that you bring. And another reason why I knew that I wanted to see, and I'm so happy that you saved yourself for last, because I think everything that you said kind of goes into my second question for everybody is, like, we've already shared a little bit of vulnerability of when was the first time you realized that you were struggling mentally. And I kind of want to shift a slight gears of, how has your definition of strength changed over time? Because again, I think a lot of guys grow up thinking strength equals don't talk about it. Strength equals, like Pat, you said, mental health doesn't exist, or strength is just being big, buff, manly, whatever possible societal norms equal male. So yeah, that's where my next question is going, is how has your individual definitions of strength changed over time?
Yeah, I can start and spin it back around, guys. I'll be quick on this one. I'll be very blunt and very transparent. I thought strength was being cool this whole time, guys. Until I got to like 25, 26. I was the guy that Cubs season tickets, women, high how can I be this cool guy? Right. That was strength for me. Like the guy that's always buying rounds, the guy that's always, I don't know, throwing his credit card on the table when he doesn't have any money. I was that guy for a long time. My definition of strength has changed over time. Now it's how many lives can I mold? How many people can I impact positively? That is strength. Strength is by giving your everything to somebody else when they're struggling. That's what true strength is. So you can see it flip. So anybody out there that thinks strength is being that too cool guy, it's never too late to change, and you can really make some impact along the way.
Hmm. I'm just gonna clap to that, and please somebody follow up with that. Good luck.
I
Yeah,
can
I
go
can
next.
kind of.
Or go
You
go
you
ahead.
go, Steph. You go,
All right.
Steph.
All right. So when you're talking about strength, it actually reminded me that you said like, what does strength mean? So there was a point in time in the season where I had to really decide whether or not I was going to redshirt, like medically redshirt, and had a like an hour and a half conversation with my goalie coach on the phone, and he asked me the question, "What does success mean to me this season?" Whether it's like playing a certain number of games or like having some kind of like position and on the team or like some sort of impact on the team. And all that is definitely, I mean, that's part of the reason why we pay or why we play is because we want to have that impact. But for me, in terms of like what I've learned, even from how it approach things different, even like on the coaching side and how it kind of everything's in a way like happen. Um, Strength is really, I feel like the impact or like the genuineness community like you have on a team. Like it's much more than definitely like the wins and the losses. And strength is being able to be consistent and like being who you are, not changing. And then even with the success, it's yeah, it's much more. I like to say like there's not enough Ted Lasso coaches in the world, because I feel like that's really what it's all about. Because when you have that, the strength and like your identity, who you are, then everything else just becomes so much stronger.
Couldn't agree more, and I think it's actually kind of perfect to follow you. So, you currently kind of going through that shoulder injury and everything. That's something that I went through my junior year. So my sophomore year was kind of a little bit of a breakout year, and I thought heading into junior year was going to be my year, like in everything. First preseason game, we're playing at Triton College, and I tear my labrum in my left shoulder. Done for the season. Identity, like you said, Steph, gone. Don't know what to do. I started showing up late to practices, not going to team lifts, even missing some classes just because I didn't really know what to do. It took it was like 8 months long recovery time. The kind of thing that kind of saved me was I actually went home a week early. I probably shouldn't have for winter break back home to Kentucky, was with family, with friends, and just people that I fully trusted 100%. And they kind of helped me get over that. And then coming back towards the second semester of junior year, showing up earlier than anybody else, even though I'm not practicing, helping out with the team in whatever they're doing. We had intramurals going on, and the soccer team created a basketball team. I was there in a suit creating stats for the team, whenever intramurals, it doesn't even matter, but it was so fun and they loved it. And just trying your best, even whenever people know that you probably aren't, is kind of what strength has changed over time. It started out who has the best stats, who's doing the best in the weight room, and now it's like, how can you overcome hard stuff that's going on and people learning from you and you learning from other people? That's how strengths change for me.
Love it.
Yeah,
Tyler.
I'll kind of piggyback off that one. Um, as I said earlier, I'm a baseball player, so my like definition of strength has definitely changed over the years. But I think right now for me it's showing up on a daily basis and doing the little things correctly and being unique to yourself. My sophomore year, I, oh, my freshman year I had a really good year. My sophomore year, I had a slump, a really bad one. I think I was like over 30 at a time. And I mean, you can't really get much lower than that in the baseball world because like you, it just feels like you're hitting and there's 100 people on the field. And then when you're striking out, it feels like you're swinging a pool noodle. Like it's brutal. And I actually remember talking to my coach and I'm like, dude, I'm like, I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm just getting beat up right now. And he was like, okay, well, what can you control? So it's like building those pillars of strength. So it's like, okay, you can control your, like, how you walk up there. and you control what you swing at and how you respond. And those things like really tie into strength for me, even outside of baseball, because no matter what goes on, you get to choose your response. And I feel like that speaks a lot to strength. And after that, I ended up working with a sports psychologist, and we kind of came up with something that Zach was talking about, which is like the choose your hard. So, my sophomore year, I was like the guy that was rolling in 5 minutes before practice, waiting for everybody because I had a really good freshman year. So I was like, I don't need to do none of that. Like, it's fine. And I mean, it bit me in the butt. So then, I mean, 5 a.m.s, I was getting there at 4 o'clock in the morning. Like, I wanted to be the first one there my junior year. I wanted to, like, be the guy everybody could rely on rather than just showing up and being like, oh, I got this. So, and before I thought strength was just putting your head down and working, right? But as a leader standpoint, it's how, how can I help everybody else be the best them? Like Pat was saying. So,
Yeah. Very, very interesting, unique, and individualized answers. Something that all of you hit on was staying true to yourself and being authentic no matter what's going on around you. Um, which kind of brings me to a really hard question, and we'll see how vulnerable everybody gets here. But just staying on like the idea of being authentic, like head in the ground, staying true to who you are. I kind of want to talk about locker room culture or campus culture, really whatever you want to call it. I know people get a little bit on the edge of their seats when they hear the words locker room talk, but listen, I was in those rooms up until college. I played boys hockey. There was no shame in some of those rooms that I was in. Others had a great amount of respect. So I do have a fully loaded question, and I definitely want to hear from everybody. Pat and Zach, with you guys outside of college athletics, if you have stories or something to say during your time, I would love to hear that. And then, but also like maybe from the coaching perspective as well. And then obviously, Kyler, Steph, you guys are in it. Um, but how much does locker room culture impact whether guys feel safe speaking up or what actually makes a locker room feel safe or not? And how does that impact you as a male athlete?
Yeah,
Fully.
college guys go first here.
yeah, I can jump on this one first. Um, I don't know, this one's kind of loaded, so I'm trying to figure out how to take it. But
Very loaded. Very loaded. If you
I've
need me
been
to
in a
break it
lot.
down, let me know.
I've been in a lot of locker rooms, lots of situations, because I played summer ball every single year in different places. So I'll go first. My college. I mean, I was the kid from California, so I mean that's hard enough on its own, right? Like you could imagine the jokes that you get right away. And then I also have like I have dreams, right? And at the Division 3 level, wanting to play some type of professional baseball is just it's not accepted here. And that's one of the hardest things to go through is to come in with something and guys be like, you're not going to do it, like you're here. And it's like, okay, well, you're not going to tell me what my dream is. There's no way, you know? And I mean, me and Pat have talked about this. It's like my routine is different than anybody else's on my team. And it's like how it's one thing that I've struggled with is how do I like find comfort in that? Because like I journal every single at bat. I'll journal after every single game, like anything. Any struggle I have, it goes in the journal. Now, when I whip it out in the locker room in front of 40 dudes, you can imagine that it is not taken the best.
Mhm.
But like staying unique to yourself is the biggest thing because I know that that helps me in the long run. And not doing that is going to cost me, like, maybe not the next game, but like to be able to look back and be like, what was working, what wasn't working, you know? But I feel like at the end of the day, you just have to be able to look yourself in the mirror and be like, no, this is me. And like, I'm gonna do this because like my 9-year-old self had a dream. Like, I'm not gonna let some 20-year-old that thinks he's, the stuff just come down on me. No way. And then kind of relating this one to the summer ball, as a Division III athlete, you could imagine playing in like a prospect league with a bunch of D1 guys. You get a bunch of flack. And I mean, like I was the first one there, and I got dudes from like Butler showing up and um, Central Michigan, and they're like, "What are you doing? Like,
Mhm.
you really think you're gonna get better today?" And I was like, "Well, I'm already better than you today. I got here first, right?" So it's just taking those little mental wins, I think, especially in those situations where it's like you don't need to try to fight, right? But you need to stand up for yourself. You need to stand up for like that little kid inside of you that wanted this.
Ooh, before anybody else answers, I definitely just have to say, like, if I could swear right now, I would, like, holy S, kind of like you. Again, there's a reason why you have been invited to speak. So then athletes in high school, college, and even professional have eyes on this. Coaching staffs have eyes on this. Athletic trainers, there's so many different eyes that are going to be watching this webinar. If they're not live, they're going to watch the recording. And what you just said was so incredibly powerful. And the one thing that I definitely just want to commend you on is, I mean, all of it, but when you said, imagine whipping out my journal in front of 40 dudes, how that kind of goes over. And, you know, again, y'all men are weird. Women, we're weird. You guys are weird. And sometimes you might not pat somebody on the back to say, hey, I see you today. Um, you are probably changing so many lives and you don't even realize it. Nobody might not come up to you, but I bet you somebody on your team or somebody that you've played with in the past or somebody that you played with in summer ball absolutely remembers you, what you did in the dugout, what you're doing in the locker room right now, and how you are carrying yourself. It's always like, when I was coaching, I would always tell my kids, I don't care if you have 10,000 social media followers or 1,000, if you sign 10 or no autographs after a game, there's always going to be eyes on you. And how you act and how you carry yourself and everything that you do is constantly under a microscope. And I think what you have shared is kind of a perfect example of that in such a positive light. And everything that you're doing now, I'm sure Pat, I'm going to keep throwing you under the bus, man, because you're my guy. I'm sure Pat wishes he knew in his, late teens, early 20s, instead of being that dude thinking strength was picking up women and, getting hammered and then, trying to go to baseball practice the next day, you have that strength already and it's going to carry you in well after college. So thank you again for sharing. And I'm sorry that I took up so much time, but I felt like I had to say something. So, Steph,
Thank you.
you're up because we're going to let the college guys go before Zach and Pat finish off the question.
No, I agree, Kyler. You said like finding comfort in being different, like unique to yourself. The best locker rooms are the ones where you don't feel like you need to change anything and you can be authentic and genuine. And that goes back to your strength when you're talking about strength and what it really means. And I have been a part of a lot of different locker rooms too. And I feel like also the best teams are where, um, in a way, there's kind of like no one's treated differently because of like how much they play or don't play or like their role in their team. And that kind of goes to the unconditional part. And that also ties into my faith too, because I'm Catholic and I'm growing a lot of my faith as well. But it's like that's what we all kind of like strive for and are like real friends, relationships, how in a way like Jesus, because he gave us unconditional love. And it can't be completely replicated because we're all human and imperfect, but being a part of an environment where you can feel like everyone's a part of it and no one's being treated differently because there's a certain role or status, because one, that can change any second. So that's very like shallow and superficial. And so that's what helped me a lot this year too, is I have the closer connections in the team, but I also have the real kind of like genuine connections outside the team too. And we need that because if you feel like you're only like, kind of like have this kind of like status or like this kind of relationship with people in your team because you play this amount of minutes or something like that, that's so like superficial and shallow. That almost kind of like is sickening to me. And it's definitely something I've learned a lot this year is like just really like appreciate the genuine relationships I have. And just kind of like going off that too. Just like the relationship piece. If you're in an environment where you can really feel like you can develop connections and not like I'm a sophomore right now, and I know like our season actually just finished, and it kind of almost saddens me to think like the seniors now graduating. They're close as a class when they're together, but I'm curious how many are going to be close like once everyone graduates, right? Because all of this, everything you do, especially everything important, takes time, effort, energy, and so it's like what the most important thing about a locker room is the relationships you have after it. Actually, to me, because in the moment it's easy when you're seeing everyone every day, having meals, practice, games, like you're there. You have no choice but to be there, actually. So it's easy, but it's like once you graduate, then you really find out like who's really going to put in the time and effort to continue to grow that relationship, and who you're going to really feel that desire to grow with too.
I love being able to hop on right after Steph because everything that I'm saying, he says it right beforehand. The question of like feeling safe speaking up in a locker room, now being out of the locker room, I think the best way to tell if it was a safe space, like Steph said, is does that group still talk after college? Now being 29, I'm going to weddings of people that I played sports with, being in weddings, going to baby showers, like those things. Like now being adults, like if you're still connecting with your team now at the age of 29, that was a dang good locker room that you had to feel safe and to speak up in back in college. And one thing that Kyler said was just trying to like be yourself. Funny story on my side that kind of like helped open myself up on it. So I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. I went to school in Chicago. I knew very little Spanish going into it. And with playing soccer, being in Chicago, Spanish is pretty prominent in trying to be able to play and communicate with your teammates. So I tried learning a couple of extra things, but my defenders kept saying portero to me. And finally, I got the courage, like after a couple of practices, and I was like, dude, like, why do they keep calling me Portillo's? And if you're in the Chicago area, you know what Portillo's is. It's this amazing restaurant. They got these hot dogs, burgers. And I came in freshman year a little bit overweight, I won't lie. So I thought they were cracking jokes at me. So finally I said that. They died of laughter from it. And I kind of got an understanding that Portero meant goalie in Spanish. But they also got the understanding from me that, hey, like they kind of know my background a little bit. And so just getting that vulnerability out there was a funny story. We still talk about it to this day. Just being yourself and being open really kind of opened that barrier, and everyone just kind of themselves. But to the original question, the best way to tell if it's a safe level to speak up in is how well they still keep in contact after college and if they still meet up together.
I love it. I love it. And Pat, last one's on you.
Yeah, I'll put a
Go.
bow on this. I've learned a lot from all these gentlemen, right? It's kind of cool. You guys have all been on the podcast at this point. Kyler's been in my facility, and I'll start with Kyler. Kyler came in as a college guy, has put up big numbers in big places in his career. And he comes in and he was showing the guys his notebook and talking about it and saying, like, hey, if you want to be elite, go be yourself and do this kind of stuff. And I have hitters to this day that still talk about that conversation. I looked around, he was kind of holding court in our facility, and I thought that was really cool. With Stef, he said something on the podcast I'll never forget too about his faith, right? Like you have to openly talk about these things or people just don't know. So I took that to heart, Steph. And every time we did speed training on Saturdays this season, at the end, we sat down 20 kids in a circle and we prayed. In the beginning, nobody said anything. By the end of it, everybody started talking. We had coaches leading prayer, and it was a beautiful thing. It also taught me how to pray in front of people, which at 31 years old can be a little bit as well. It can be a little bit much, I should say. And then Zach said something on the podcast I'll never forget too. Be weird with them. Like, be weird. And I always thought about like, okay, if I can't find any good, at some point we have to be the good. We have to go do it ourselves. So just in the locker room setting, don't be afraid to hold court and don't be afraid to be yourself in there. You never know who's going to be following you because those same kids are the kids that will be signing this summer, Kyler, right? Steph, those same kids that were in there leading prayer, they're the kids that are starting on varsity for their high school teams. And the kids that are out there being themselves, Zach, are the kids that are going to go on and do great things in their sport and outside of it. So it's just a beautiful thing to see all the things that you guys mentioned. I'm trying to now live those in my life. So I want to thank you guys.
Oh, I don't know how to follow up with that, guys. I don't think I can. I don't think I could ask one more question. I don't know if I can close this out because, damn, that was good, boys. Good work. Um, but bring it back. Pat, I really do think that you summarized it so well and so perfectly. And the only thing that I think I would add is, and this isn't a gender thing. Looking back at least at like my college career, I wish that I would have spoken up more, and I wish I didn't just like, especially as a freshman sophomore, it is so hard, right? Like you already feel so much pressure, whether you're a guy or a girl. You want to fit in, you want to play your best, but like you're still trying to figure out who the heck you are. Um, but I still wish like I was more confident in myself and more like just had more strength to speak up if I saw something going awry in the locker room or if a conversation was going away that probably shouldn't have, be like, hey, no, let's not talk about that. Cut that out, or maybe how somebody was acting. Like I really wish that I would have spoke up in that moment and or had strength like Kyler or Steph, where it's like, I'm going to lead by example and I'm going to do me. I'm going to do what I do. People are going to follow me because that's what happens. Like, greatness breeds greatness. And usually the people who are the cancers of the team kind of weed themselves out because everybody wants to follow the good. Um, I do have one last question for you guys before we wrap it up. I have honestly like I have like eight other questions that I want to ask, but I know that I set this for 45 minutes, but I know we're going over time. Um, so I just want to end with a pretty simple question and why I brought all of you guys here today. And we'll go around the horn, no order whatsoever. If you could change one thing about male sports culture, what would it be?
Zach, I think it's time to flip the alphabet, brother. Go ahead.
A bet. Perfect. Perfect. If there's one thing that I could change about male sports culture, it would have to be the stigma around that we have to be perfect, or at least pretend that we have to be perfect. That it's okay not to be okay. And with that, that it's also okay to be able to voice that, to know that others are either feeling the same way as you currently, or maybe at some point they've probably gone through the same thing and they can relate to you. The cool thing with sports is that you have a built-in locker room of anywhere between 10 and 100 guys that are there for you. There's someone in that room, whether if it's a teammate or a coach or maybe you have a chaplain, whoever it may be, that is there to talk to you. No one wants to see you go through any crap or anything bad. And more than likely, someone in that room has gone through the same things. And being able to relate to people and have empathy for people, if you're on the older side and you've been through it, can really help yourself continue to grow. Or if you're going through it, it can really help you if you have someone to look up to.
Who's next? Who's going to be brave?
I can go. Um, Simply put, one thing is that you don't have to prove anything to anybody, just to be you. Because I feel like that helps you, one, kind of like be loose and just, um, I would say even just it's like when they say like you play best when you're having fun. I feel like you're having fun, the most fun when you're not feeling like you owe anything to anyone or you don't have to prove anything to anyone. That's my 2 cents.
I'll go next. We'll make Pat go last again. Um, kind of going off Zach. I think getting rid of the fear of failure in men. That's something that I've personally struggled with. But I mean, I'm watching my teammates go through it right now. Like we strive for perfection, but nobody's going to be perfect. It's physically not possible. We're all human. So just understanding that failure is okay because you learn from it.
Tyler, I love that, man. Yeah, I can wrap us up. I think the biggest takeaway on our topic tonight of men's mental health, I don't know, it's very cliche, but I'm going to keep saying stuff like this. Check on your guys, man. Like you have to. Um, you have to. I've been emotional the whole time, if you guys can't tell. You have to check on your guys at the end of the day. Check on your people. You don't know what these people are going through. You got buddies that are losing jobs. You got buddies that are losing, family members. You have buddies that are going through stuff that we have no idea. Just check. It doesn't have to be anything elaborate. It doesn't have to be presents and gifts and flying across the country. Sometimes a text or a call, like it goes a long way. So I don't know. I'm 31. I've lost some buddies to overdoses and mental health and all that stuff that goes with this stuff. So I'd say this is a big step in the right direction tonight, guys. But check on your people. And I'm hoping this message is what you're looking for, CNC, because we couldn't have done this stuff without you. So thanks for having us.
No, I couldn't have done it without you guys. So Kyler, Steph, Zach, Pat, I truly cannot thank you enough for your time and the insight you all brought. Your words were truly beyond impactful, and I'm so happy that us at the Zone and all of you guys, Pat, for the Keep Going podcast, and for all of these individuals that you have brought to me and have brought together, we're able just to come together for this. And certainly want to think of future ideas, not only with you, but honestly, all four of you. Simply put, mental health, mental wellness, mental performance is beyond important in this day to day era. It's for the coaches, trainers, athletic directors listening. This is part of sports. It's no longer taboo. It's the here and now. It's not something that we can no longer ignore. It's the side of the game that we have to adapt with, and we have to provide to these student athletes and for the athletes in the room. There's a reason why we did a men's mental health discussion for you. It's about slowly breaking down societal norms and barriers and provide you with a safe space to grow in and out of your sport. And again, I'm glad that you decided to join and tune into this amazing conversation with these guys. Now, for the guys in the room that we are partnered with, I definitely want to plug in the Zone just a little bit. Make sure you're logging into your app and searching for some of the shared resources on topics that we talked about today. Maybe it is something like being homesick. We have a ton of stuff on injury. If you don't see something in the app and our shared resources that you see on the screen right now, where you could find it, email into us at support@itsthezone.com, or my email address is right there. Coaches and staff, again, that we're partnered with, we hope that you're able to take something away from possibly how to talk to your male athletes and how to begin the conversation. Maybe, again, you're using the Zone. Maybe you share a resource to your guys. Maybe you do a weekly or bi-weekly poll to send to your team. Any start is a really good start. And as always, if you ever need assistance, I'm absolutely here. Please reach out to me. And then lastly, again, I know today wasn't necessarily about the Zone or the Keep Going podcast, but every Sunday, a new episode drops. Spotify, YouTube, social media pages. I asked Pat probably like what the best place to follow him is. Go ahead and follow at the KG podcast. They have current athletes, former athletes, professional athletes, like just human beings from so many different backgrounds, all within the athletic space and talking about mental health. So highly, 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 highly recommend giving them a follow, giving them a shout. And naturally, for those of you who aren't partnered with the Zone but are interested, definitely reach out. Our support email, like I said earlier, my email address is on there. Would love to discuss the platform with you and how it is just as vital as being in the strength and conditioning room, because that's simply where athletics is going. But again, thank you all so much for being here, boys. Thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your stories. Hope everybody has a great rest of their evening and absolutely crush whatever you're about to do this week.
Love you guys. I appreciate
Thank you.
it. Thanks, Christy.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
guys.
boys.
Yes.